They are both trying to seduce the military into their camp, and there are definitely a lot of black hats in the military. But the thing, for example, Lloyd Austin, the defense secretary, has been missing in action for 2 weeks. And what I was told by MI6 was that he was planning a Operation Northwood style false flag operation to set up military law, but for the Democratic part. And they
Wow.
and
So he was getting ready to. So the White Hats took him out then.
Yeah, that's right. He was arrested, and I think they're now trying to prepare a rubber mask phony to replace him. But watch out, because if he appears, try to compare the new one with the old one, and see if you can't, because these rubber mask technologies are so good now.
Yeah.
But he was taken out, and so was Eric Smith, the head of the top Marine general. So that attempt has
Wow.
failed, and they won't control the military. I'm sure of it. And the other point is that worldwide, globally speaking, the United States military right now is in deep trouble because they don't have money. If they had a war with China, they say they would run out of ammunition in a week. So they're really just waiting for, to a new paymaster, and then they will obey whoever that is. So the fight is really about control of the top of the financial system, and that's where the real battle is taking place. The Mossad state what motto is, through wage war through deception. But what these people forgot, they didn't, read the story about the boy who cried wolf. And everybody got fooled by my 911, or most people anyway, including myself. But now the cat's out of the bag. And so, for example, when Netanyahu said that this big show in Gaza, this genocide in Gaza, was Israel's 911, nobody believed him, not even the Israelis. Only 9% of Israelis think he's winning there. So they can't, they can't do this anymore. Even if they sink a destroyer, nobody's going to be fooled. Everybody know who did it, and it's not going to be the Iranians. It's going to be directed out of Tel Aviv or New York, not out of some other Middle Eastern country. Nobody's going to be fooled.
America will be ground zero for this Black Swan event.
It's sure looking that way, and everything I'm hearing
What?
about it. But the problem is, these people know that their actual necks are on the line, and they're trying very, very hard to start World War III, and it's not working. I just talked to a North Korean representative yesterday, and they said, we understand that the Americans want to start World War III, and we're not going to let it happen in the Korean Peninsula. The Chinese are saying the same. We're not going to let it happen in Taiwan. I also talked to the Iranians, and they say no. We're going to put these people in war crimes tribunals, but we're not going to let them fool us into starting World War III. So their whole idea of using World War III as a get out of jail free card is not working, and they're freaking out. What will happen, I think the most likely scenario will be the military will cut off the internet for a while and force people to go out and look at the world with their own eyes. And they have the technical capability to do it. I've heard that a single Aegis destroyer has the capability to shut down all electronic communications around the planet. That's how powerful the technology is. So I'm guessing that a likely scenario, if there's a military government installed, that they will temporarily shut down all the ATMs, the internet, everything, and tell people the truth and then reboot the system. Well, I mean, Trump did authorize the Insurrection Act, and it's going to take the National Guard and the military. But it's not that difficult because they're not an army. They're not armed. They don't have cannons or tanks or airplanes or anything. And at the end of the day, it's just a police operation, but it'll require a lot of manpower. And it will happen because these people they're not actual economic migrants. Most of them were hired and paid to come for some kind of campaign, which is failing. They were supposed to be, we have witness reports from these people saying that they were given a debit card, and we're told to go, and we're getting $2,000 a month, and they were told to go into the United States and stand by and wait for orders. And what I think was happening is that the people I call the Khazarian mafia, who aren't Jewish, but anyway, who are very powerful, realize that the Native American peoples, and I'm talking about not just First Nations, but white people and people who are Americans from like way back, um, were not going to were going to revolt, and they needed an army of foreigners. They're hoping to suppress them, and that's not working. It's blowing up in their faces. They always have plans on both sides, and they identify themselves by their behavior, which is what's happening now. They're hoping to have a controlled opposition. It didn't work, so they're all trying to somehow suck up to Trump in order to avoid themselves being killed.
That's what it is. So is that what Vivek is doing right now? He's sucking up because he knows, well, this is bad. This is bad news. Yeah. It looks like Trump's going to win this.
And I think he wants to disassociate himself with the World Economic Forum.
Wow. Right? So he was hoping. So they were probably hoping that Trump's charges would lead to him being convicted, and then one of them would be lifted up on a pedestal and would run for president. But it doesn't look like that's happening. So now they're freaking out, and now Vivek has decided to join the Trump team, right?
Basically, what's happening is you have it's not going to be decided in the courts because they each have their own puppet judges, and it's nothing to do with justice. It's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to require men with guns to fight this out. That's the only way it's going to happen. And I think that is happening already.
Explain that. You're talking about military tribunals?
Well, I'm talking about, military war crimes tribunals. It's the only answer. We're going to have the military come in because these spurious court cases, it's like, how long has this been going on now? For literally, many years. They're talking about, the Trump P dossier, and then the Hunter Biden, and there's like throwing it back and forth at each other, and nothing happens. So it's for literally, many years. They're talking about, the Trump P dossier, and then the Hunter Biden, and there's like throwing it back and forth at each other, and nothing happens for literally, many years. They're talking about, the Trump P dossier, and then the Hunter Biden, and there's like throwing it back and forth at each other, and nothing happens. It's gonna be, it's like it's time to actually get kinetic at this point. There's no other answer.
To repent and be saved, we're approaching the day when the seals will be broken. Some just won't believe. Consider the times we're living. Consider the signs we're giving. Prepare for the revelation.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope to see you again next week.
And swear by my name, like they taught my people of Israel to swear by Baal. If they do not obey, I will utterly pluck up and destroy that nation. They're all listed in this prophecy written 3,000 years ago by the prophet Asaph. Asaph was a worship leader for King David, but we're also told he was a seer, a prophet. 2 Chronicles 29, verse 30. And he, at a time when Israel was, had one, is he's going to, the Arab peoples had, over the diaspora, had gone into the promised land of Israel. It was called Palestine in 135 AD. It was renamed Palestine. Never was really a country. It was always loosely defined borders, depending on whoever controlled the area. But it was called Palestine. And then in 1948, it became Israel. And so he was saying, I'm going to pluck out the evil neighbors from what is now going to be called Israel, put them back into their ancient homelands. And I'm going to pluck the Jews out who were living in some of those Arab countries there, lands, and bring them back into what is now going to be called Israel. So we saw that happen in 1948. Now, what he had to do, the Ottoman Empire had controlled the Middle East from 1517 to 1917. There could be no Arab states or Israel with them having control over that area. So in World War I, they got defeated, the Ottoman Empire, the Turks. And all of a sudden we find in the 20th century, the Arabs starting to get their states back. So for instance, Egypt was 1922, got its statehood. Saudi Arabia and Iraq were 1932. Iran, formerly Persia, was called Iran in 1935. Lebanon, 1943, Jordan and Syria, 1946, and then along comes Israel, 1948. So we see.
To Doe just for a second. Earlier, the subcommittee headed by Chairman Marjorie Taylor Greene, her and her staff discovered $2.7 trillion in improper payments to Medicare, Medicaid, overseas, to people who should not have gotten it. Some in this room might have missed that press conference. Can you elaborate on what the president is thinking at this point?
Well, again, that's another example. There's a very long list of the fraud, waste, and abuse that DOGE is identifying on a daily basis. Elon Musk also talked about yesterday about Social Security payments that are going out the door for people who are no longer with us, unfortunately. I would say that is certainly fraud. There's also a lot of contracts they've identified that, just as a hypothetical example, are $1 million, but only 500,000 went out the door. So where's the rest of that cash? And so that's the thing. Those are the things that DOGE is working on every single day. And I would just remind everybody in this room, this is what President Trump campaigned on doing. He's delivering on a promise that 70